All right, guys, welcome back to the Goals.com podcast, where we uncover what drives sales performance at the highest levels. Today, I'm joined by John Noonan, president of Growth Plan Partners, a consulting firm helping small and medium-sized businesses build predictable, scalable sales growth through structure, process, and accountability. With over 30 years of experience leading national sales and marketing teams, John now partners with business owners to design and implement sales engines that drive real results. We'll dig into what it takes to move from reactive selling to a process-driven approach that delivers consistent, scalable results. John, you ready to dive in?
I am. Thank you, Andrew, for having me. Appreciate it.
All right, you've had a long and successful career leading enterprise sales teams. What inspired your transition from corporate leadership into consulting for small and medium-sized businesses?
Well, I'll say it was two things, COVID and age. And what I mean by that, obviously along came COVID and I was working with a client that got decimated. He dealt with retailers in malls. So you can imagine when the malls closed, what happened. And it just afforded me the opportunity to rethink my career. Again, I had a very successful career for 35 years in enterprise sales, but was actually considering semi-retirement, but I'm going to work till I die. It's just the kind of guy that I am. And I was trying to think, okay, how can I help other people? And, my thought grew right away to, fractional help. So, went on the New York State website, registered myself, and kaboom, right during COVID, I started my own consultancy and, didn't even know about SX at the time, Sales Acceleration. They kind of found me later and, glad that they did because, they've been a great help to my helping clients and taking them to the next level. So, it's just a little bit of too many nights in hotel rooms and too many miles in the air. And can I really help my local community now? And which I am, and I'm having a lot more fun doing it. So
I love it. Love it.
that was the impetus.
Looking back on your time as executive vice president of sales and marketing across several companies, what consistent challenges did you see that ultimately shaped your approach to sales leadership today?
Yeah, it was process and tools. I'll use those two terms. And what I mean by that is, we realized as we got bigger, as we got more complex, that systems and processes were essential to keep your hands around what you were doing and make sure that, you could be as efficient as possible and answer the questions of your investors. I mean, you got to be buttoned up or people don't want to invest. So, having a good CRM system, staying focused on the KPIs and the tools, those were the critical elements there. And so that's kind of the process side. And then the tool side is what I realized, obviously, there's multiple styles to sales management. I have always been a team player. In fact, I give a lot of, first talks to new clients that for me, selling is a team sport and I'm going to help you under that guise. Okay. We don't need a bunch of Lone Rangers out there just bringing things home, but we really want to build long-term success and long-term business. We do it by helping one another. So finding and giving the tools to the good people. I mean, you're never going to have a group of stellar performing salespeople, but for me, motivation is the most critical thing. Are they motivated to do this? Do they want to do this? And if they do, then I'm going to do my best to get them the tools to be successful. And the tools were different back in those days. It may have just been getting help from a marketing company and getting some lead generation to get them in front of some more people. Today, these tools have become much more complex, right? We have AI everything now, evaluating things and helping us find clients that fit our ideal client profile, et cetera. But overall, I think those were the two commonalities then and now. You've got to have systems. You got to understand where you stand. And then, you got to give your people the tools to do the job. And if you do that, you can be successful.
Yeah, makes sense. What was the spark behind founding Growth Plan Partners, and what gap in the small and medium-sized business market were you most motivated to solve?
Yeah, I think it's the one I'm solving today, is helping and guiding business owners to get out of sales. I mean, we know in the market that I serve, and we serve kind of this $5 million to $50 million, kind of our super sweet spot. That quite often, great idea, great product, The owner starts the business, it starts to grow. They're the primary salesperson, right? They're out there, demonstrating the product, getting people excited about it, if it's a product or service, and then buying it, right? And they tend to stay in that. That's hard to get away from. When you're the chief salesperson, then, you kind of stay in that role, I think, a little too long to scale. Quite often I'm walking in and the owner's keeping their own book of business and they're trying to run a sales team, and it's just too much. I mean, they're just generally out of jet fuel. I get the call a lot of times because the owner's basically exhausted. They've got no more hours to give. They can't grow anymore, and maybe they've even contracted. And that's where we help them step out of that sales role. I mean, they should talk to their clients every day, and they can make all the demos they want, but in my opinion, they should not be keeping a book of business anymore to continue to grow the company.
You talk about building a sales engine for clients. Can you break down what that really means and why it's such a game changer for small businesses?
Quite often, again, let's go back to that role of the owner still participating in sales and now hired a few salespeople. Maybe they didn't have the expertise in doing that, and maybe hired some of their friends' kids and things like that, and hoping that they would working out. When you don't have a sales engine, when you don't have a structure and a process, and you're tuning that engine on a regular basis to keep it running, you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, the old adage of go out and get them today, guys, show them what you got and hope you come back with something, without any planning, without any understanding of what activities are actually bringing business. I mean, that's all part of the sales engine too. I mean, we utilize CRMs and KPIs and dashboards so we know where we stand, but they're all based around an understanding and a modified understanding of what it's going to take to get there. And what I mean by that is, in the most simplistic form, we kid and say that sales is nothing more than a math formula, meaning if I need $1 million in sales, I have to do so much in quotes, and I have to have so many meetings to get those quotes, and I have to have so many touch points to get there. And there's truth to that. So being able to kind of adapt that, understand it for your specific industry is critical. And then making sure that everybody knows what their expectation is. Again, I walk into so many clients to help them, and no one knows where the goal line is. We're just supposed to go out. We're supposed to sell. We make some calls. Everybody does it a different way. There's no playbook. They've never really thought through their ideal client profiles, their value proposition to those clients. I mean, you may have 16 different types of clients that you serve, depending on how complex your business is, but you may also have 16 different value propositions, and you need to know what those are, how you, approach clients, how you walk them through their buying process. I think one of the things we do too often is talk about our selling process, okay? And I try to get clients and salespeople to flip that and say, our selling process needs to be adapted to their buying process. So what is this client's buying process? Can we satisfy that? Can we make money? Can we make them happy and make money at what they're doing? If we can, then we have a win. If not, part makes me think, part of what I do at the beginning with a lot of clients is just get them to put away the shotguns, okay? Far too often I walk in and sales teams are just simply firing at anything that moves in the grass because that's what they think they're supposed to do. I'm a hunter, I'm firing, but even if you shoot it, is it going to do anybody any good? Is it good food for the house, so to speak, right? So this is where we get them to get a little more focused, a little more organized at the beginning, and maybe even most likely narrow their approach early on to become more successful at doing the narrowed approach, generating cash, and then we can decide how wide we want to go.
That makes a lot of sense. From your experience, what are the most common sales process gaps holding small and medium-sized businesses back from achieving predictable growth?
When you say process gaps, it's simply not making sure that they've gone through the complete sales cycle or the sales process, okay? In other words, trying to just jump and always looking for that, selective yes, if you will, to earn a piece of business. And one of the other things I think some salespeople miss and don't really think enough about is, for me, sales is three things. And what I mean by that is we have a need or a problem on one side, that's your client. Okay. Then we have a solution, a service, or a product on the other side. That's us and what we're selling. And then there's timing. Okay. And people don't think about that a lot. And timing is a lot more than just physical time. Okay. And what I mean by that is the timing might not be right. You may be perfect for each other. Okay. But the timing's not right to come together because of budgets, because of other priorities, because of economic conditions. I mean, you name it, you can bring a lot of things around there. So you have to really understand that timing element as well. Pushing on somebody who's not ready or is not going to make a decision can make an enemy and lose a client rather than just understanding that, putting them in a nurture mode as opposed to a pressure mode and waiting for the timing to be right type of thing. So I think those are some of the things that salespeople don't look at enough. They think they just have to go out and sell everybody right now, and that's not the case. You've got to pick your battles. You've got to understand where that timing is right and where you have your highest probability for success. And then again, hopefully if they've got a marketing program, getting them on a nurture marketing program and coming back to them later.
Nice. You've helped clients see 20 to 35% growth in their first year. What's the
Mhm.
key to creating real transformation and getting buy-in from teams who've been doing the same thing for years?
The buy-in comes from success or tools that work on the sales side, right? You show me a tool and it works, and all of a sudden I'm making money, I'm bought in. It's just that simple. Okay, that's why I'm there, and I'm looking for people to help me. So it's first showing the sales team that that's what I'm there for. I'm not there to chastise, to supervise, to look over anybody's shoulder. I'm there to get you the tools that you need to do the job. So once I've earned their trust, I think that then the buy-in starts. And then, as far as the culture change, I think it comes down to that last topic that we talked about as far as putting away the shotguns. Let's get focused on a few markets here. Let's really understand our value proposition and go there. If we spend more of our time there, we're going to generate more sales and more profits right away. Good example. I had a client, $40 million, big organization, doing pretty well, but had been kind of flat for a couple of years. When we did those workshops on ideal client profile and value proposition, even the owner was amazed. They were in a business where they thought they wanted logos, meaning they wanted to sell direct to big name companies, right? We want to sell, I'll make them up not to expose the client, but we want 3M and IBM and Exxon. These are companies we want to sell to, right? But when we went through it and we looked at it, we realized it's very complex to sell to large companies like that. It takes an extremely long time. And then you have a ton of compliance to deal with. Okay. These people don't just buy from you and make it easy. You got to prove that you're keeping up with all of their values and maybe, ESOP and human resources requirements and things like that. Right. But what we didn't discover, we kind of knew this, but there were a lot of brokers in this client's world. Okay. And reputable brokers, big brokers. I'm not talking about a guy that just reps some things out of his house. I'm talking about broker networks that would serve these client bases. So when we realized that, I said, hey, I want everybody to put 80% of their time on brokers. Let's go find new brokers. Let's see what they're working on. Let's see how we can help them because they already have the client relationship. They have orders in hand they're looking to fill. They're trying to find good people to fulfill that. And then, there's no compliance on our part, but keeping them happy. They keep the client compliance in check because they're selling them a whole bunch of other stuff too, right? Once we shifted over to brokers, sales were up 30% in 3 months. Okay.
Wow.
That simple. So again, ideal clients, get focused. And I think that's your quickest way to show everybody that we're on the right track and we got a winning formula.
I love that. Many business owners were once their own top salesperson. How do you help them shift from selling for the business to leading the sales organization?
Right. And we talked about a little bit about that before, but that's about, showing them that they're never going to have enough time to keep their own book of business and run the business. Okay. So they got to get focused on being the visionary. They've got to look at the future of the company. And probably when they have their own book of business, their most time consuming thing, like salespeople, is reaching out to potential clients, right? Whether it's lead generation, whether it's phone calls, whether emails, touch points, LinkedIn, whatever. That's a tremendous amount of time. Networking events, all this kind of stuff requires a tremendous amount of time that I don't think they should be spending. You can hire people to do that. You can do that internally cheaper, faster, more efficiently. Okay. And then, I mean, they can be the one to speak to that client, maybe even the first time, or make a demo of what they do or something like that. But if I get them out of the prospecting side of sales and only in the assisting side of sales, that's got to be 25% of the time they were spending overall, and then they can get focused on running their company and still feel involved with clients. Never want to take the business owner out of being with a client, because their sheer excitement and joy for the business transcends the meetings, right? This is, hey, this guy loves what he's doing. This woman loves what she's doing. This is the kind of company I want to do business with. So we want to keep them in front of potential clients, but not selling to them, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that makes a lot of sense. Sales leadership requires both empathy and accountability. How do you help leaders strike that balance and build a culture that sustains performance?
Yeah. So accountability, everybody talks about that, holding everybody accountable and holding yourself accountable. And that's what I think these processes and systems do, right? They are there to show everybody where the goal line is and what the expectation is, so we know how the game is played. And once that's in place, I think everybody becomes more comfortable. Now, as far as being, empathetic, hey, people are going to have slumps. People are going to have some problems from time to time. Obviously, the lazy and the weak, we don't have time for. I'm sorry. I mean, we're there to win the game. Okay. We've got to replace people that don't meet our criteria, either the corporate culture or the requirements that we have to get the job done. But when we know we have those people, making it a team sport, making sure that everybody builds each other up. Okay. That, somebody, and I see it in good sales teams, somebody starts to suffer a little bit. Someone will make the call, hey, what's going on? Can I help you with that? Or, maybe I learned about an account that maybe you can help, and kind of turns it over to them. So I think it's building, like any sports team, building a good team that's looking out for the whole team. Okay. And making sure that, everybody, has a place to go and an open ear to voice their problems and concerns without judgment.
You're a certified sales leader and Vistage trusted advisor. Both roles are rooted in mentorship and community. How have those perspectives shaped your coaching style?
I look for motivation, okay, now more than ever before. And I think maybe even in my younger years, I looked for, sheer performance. Okay. Well, I've had salespeople in my younger years that performed, but I had to chase them with three lawyers, to make sure that they didn't bankrupt the company. They were just out there closing sales that, maybe we didn't even want. But, I think if you get everyone to understand that, this is a team sport, and you coach them that way, that, look, I am here to do two things. And this is what I tell all my salespeople. I have two primary roles. Number one, to get roadblocks out of your way. Okay. No reason you need to be doing unnecessary administration work or anything like that. You're going to be most effective and the company's going to be most profitable if I can put you in front of good potential clients as often as possible, so that you can bring solutions to the table, hopefully make a connection and make a sale. Okay. Which is what it is. So if I get those roadblocks out of the way, that's number one. And number two is to give you the tools to do your job. Okay. And again, that may be the, CRM tools, that may be, lead generation tools, or whatever else it may be in their business. If I can give them those two things, then that's the kind of coaching style that I have. This is it's a sports coach with a good player. I'm just there to help you win the game.
For sure. For sales leaders listening who feel sort of stuck or overwhelmed, what's one action they can take this week to start regaining control of their sales growth?
Statistic that I think is still valid, the last I heard, because we do a lot of assessments at Sales Acceleration, in that $10 to $50 million range, they still say that 50% of those companies either don't have or don't use a CRM system.
Wow.
I mean, at today's cost, please get a good CRM system. I mean, if you're a sales leader today and you don't have one, that is critical. I mean, there's Zoho, there's Pipedrive. I mean, there's so many out there that you can get $40, $50 a user per month. I don't think it's going to kill anybody. just to get your hands around what everybody's doing and share that data so it becomes a true team sport and everybody knows what's going on. I think you have to do that. And then, the second thing is make sure you trust your people and you're investing in them and finding the tools that they need individually. Go back to, all my clients that have sales team members, I have one-to-one coaching sessions with. Go back to that. Find out what's in their head. Find out what they need to do a better job. I mean, it's a question I ask every one of my salespeople every time I coach them. What's in your way? What's stopping you from doing a better job? Okay. Or what's in your way, and what do you need to do a better job? What tool do you need to do a better job? If I can find it, I'll give it to you. Now, again, they don't want to work. That's a whole different story. But if they're motivated, which most of them are, money motivated, then you give them those two things, and I think you'll find success.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, guys, that was John Noonan, president of Growth Plan Partners, helping small and medium-sized business leaders turn sales chaos into clarity and build engines for long-term growth. If you're ready to create a structured plan to more sales, connect with John on LinkedIn or visit Growth Plan Partners to learn more. Thanks for tuning into the Goals.com podcast, where we explore what drives top sales performance. Be sure to subscribe and share this episode with a fellow sales leader who's ready to level up their game. Until next time, keep setting goals and crushing them. John, thanks again for being here.
This episode is brought to you by Goals.com, the sales performance platform built to help teams stay focused, motivated, and on track. While most CRMs just track data, Goals.com drives real results. It's simple, affordable, and designed to help your sales team hit targets faster, without the headache of complex setup or costly consultants. Whether you're using a CRM or not, Goals.com works seamlessly to elevate your performance. Book a fun, fast demo today at Goals.com.